I'm Charlie Sykes, and Sunday Insight starts right now. Good morning and welcome to Sunday Insight. In the week that was, well, it's officially spring. Opening day marks the return of baseball. Tensions mount with North Korea. Connecticut passes the nation's toughest gun laws. NBC announces that Jimmy Fallon will be replacing Jay Leno. And closer to home, hearings on the state budget, mainly people who showed up to ask for more money. Your tax dollars at work, a $423,500 stimulus program on correct condom use turns out to yield 0 jobs. Rutgers fires its basketball coach and athletic director after a video surfaces showing him abusing his players. And the Associated Press decides to drop the term illegal immigrant from its style book. But we start with Tuesday's election. A good day for judicial conservatives in our area. State Supreme Court Justice Pat Roggensack swept to a second term, easily defeating liberal challenger Ed Fallon. Walker appointee Rebecca Bradley wins a full term in heavily Democrat Milwaukee County. A conservative challenger in Ozaukee County, Joe Voiland, beats a 19-year incumbent who signed the Walker recall petition. Also, a tough night for local mayors. Voters oust the incumbents in Mequon, New Berlin, and Sheboygan. One bright spot for liberals, school superintendent Tony Evers easily won re-election. Now, joining me on our panel this morning, former State Representative Michelle Litchens, the Milwaukee Community Journal's Michael Holt, Mary Jo Boss, the chairman of the Wisconsin Women's Council, and Journal Sentinel blogger Alex Runner. So thanks for all being here. Well, let's just start with you, Alex. A lot of different headlines from this. What was the most dramatic result? Anything surprised you about Tuesday's election?
It surprised me. It may not have surprised you, but it surprised me that Judge Wolfgram, just for signing the recall effort, despite being appointed by Tommy Thompson, being Judge of the Year in 2008, respected on both sides, surprised me that that was powerful enough for him to get really smashed by his opponent.
Yeah, he was definitely spanked in that election. Okay, Mary Jo Boss.
I think what it showed us is that candidates really matter. Judge Pat Roggensack, a clearly qualified great candidate, beat her opponent who had no experience. We have other candidates, Rebecca Bradley running in Milwaukee, great candidate, beat her opponent easily.
Okay, Michael.
Well, two things. One, that voters overwhelmingly endorsed same-day registration in the referendum. And the second was that 2 candidates endorsed by the teachers union won election, and many people now think that means that Michael Bonds will be dethroned as president.
That story has not gotten enough attention because there could be some real serious implications for MPS. I mean, there's some speculation that the school board might want to ram through a new union contract, that Michael Bonds might be out, and who knows what this means about the future of Dr. Thornton. Michelle Litchens.
You know, there's a group out there called Progressive Wisconsin, which claims that they trained 86 candidates for local office around the state, and they say 80% of their candidates won. They took over the mayor of La Crosse. They now have a few progressives on the Appleton School Board, and I think it's something we need to be paying attention to, because we were talking about all of the campaigns at the state level, but there are groups afoot out there training progressives and liberals at the local level, so they have a farm team to bring forward, and that's a little bit scary.
Well, I was struck though by how low the turnout of the voters, how low the turnout was, and how dramatically different it was from just a couple of years ago, and how mediocre the turnout was of liberals. For example, in Madison, they were not motivated to turn out. They did not turn out for Ed Fallon. I thought that Pat Roggensack's victory was quite impressive. I think it was incredibly impressive that Judge Rebecca Bradley was able to win in a very strongly Democratic county, and also she's now part of the conservative judicial bench. That there's a larger significance. I mean, she's somebody who's going to be on the short list for a lot of things. The state Supreme Court election is significant because we don't have now a conservative up for about 4 years. So the last 2 cycles, conservatives have been on defense. If the liberals had won, had beaten either Prosser or Roggensack, they would have had a transformational victory. Now the next 2 people who are going to be up are going to be liberal members of this. But I got to tell you, Alex, the election in Ozaukee County, I agree, that was stunning. And it's got to be a wake-up call for the establishment, the courthouse insiders up in Ozaukee County, who I don't think they saw it coming, because they kept lecturing people, this shouldn't matter, this shouldn't matter. It shows the conservatives still remember the recall. Those wounds are still strong, and Joe Voiland got 63% of the vote against an incumbent judge, and that almost never happens in Wisconsin.
Well, judges are citizens, right? I mean, judges have political leanings. I think we would all acknowledge David Prosser has an ideology. Shirley Abramson has an ideology. So it sort of brings the question to me, since they didn't bring up Wolfgram's judicial record or decisions he made or anything he did as a judge, why is his personal citizenship Why does that eclipse?
The answer to that was because it was a very hyper-partisan move for a judge who is supposed to stay out of politics. Now, he has the legal right to do it. There's no question about it. But I'm guessing, by the way, that he never thought that people were going to see it. I don't think he thought it was going to come back. This whole project, the I-Verify, the recall project, which has now put these names up on the database, I don't think people realized what a game changer that was, because you can go on the internet and you can look up anybody's name, you find out, and that goes with a record. So Judge Wolfgram, in a county that Scott Walker carried with 70% of the vote, why he did it, what he was thinking, whether he thought he was going to get away with it, I don't know.
I agree with you. I don't think that he thought that anyone was ever going to see that. But like you said, this is, and I mentioned this last week, anyone who thinks that they can run for nonpartisan office in a Republican county once they've signed those recall petitions, they're out of luck in the future.
And I guess part of it was also his inability to be able to explain it. I mean,
his first answer was ridiculous, wasn't it? Oh, I just wanted to make sure everyone had an opportunity to be heard. No one believes that. We all knew what was going on when we were circulating.
And of course, the irony is he signed that petition because he wanted to have Scott Walker thrown out of office, and the only person who gets thrown out of office was him. Okay, was your glass half full or was your glass half empty? You can talk about the election results. Let's go around the table. We'll start with you, Alex Ronan.
Well, my glass is half full because Milwaukee Police Department officers have showed great restraint, firing their weapons less often, lowering crime because they're using their weapons less often. My glass is half empty because a lot of people think it's not important to be in law enforcement, and anyone who knows how to sit in a deer blind can introduce a weapon into a situation.
Michelle Richards.
My glass is half empty. People might not know, but there is a tribe that wants another casino in southeastern Wisconsin. But my glass is half full because the governor is actually standing his ground, and he's saying that we're not going to allow another casino in Wisconsin unless all 11 tribes agree.
Okay, Michael Holt.
For Brian Banks, he was a professional football prospect, spent 5 years in prison for a rape. It just turned out that he did not commit. It's half full, of course. It's half full, really, because the Atlanta Falcons have signed him to a contract.
Okay, Mary Jo.
Well, my glass is half empty because the MTEA, the teachers union, solidified its stranglehold on the Milwaukee Public School Board. My glass is half full because at the recent Joint Finance Committee hearing, school choice supporters and charter school supporters showed up en masse.
In big numbers.
And showed legislators a clear roadmap to real school reform.
Yeah, well, my glass is half full because conservatives continue to control the Wisconsin Supreme Court. It's half empty because Shirley Abramson, the uber liberal, is still the Chief Justice. Still ahead on Sunday Insight, the use of food stamps is skyrocketing, but are they helping or hurting those who use them? Coming up, a proposal to change the program. Welcome back to Sunday Insight. I'm Charlie Sykes. We're on to our second topic today, a controversial proposal on food stamps. Now, food stamp use has exploded in the last few years, growing 70% just since 2008. A record 42 million Americans now use the program that's officially called Food Share. Well, now a state representative wants to put some restrictions on that program here. Neenah area State Representative Dean Crawford is proposing legislation that would crack down on the use of food stamps to buy junk food, stuff like snacks and soda. Crawford's bill would restrict the taxpayer subsidies to so-called healthy foods. All right, Mary Jo Boss, this is a good idea.
I think it's a great idea. This program is about nutrition. And my kids are young, but one thing parents always say is, my roof, my rules. You know, and if you get your money from the government, you're going to follow their rules.
Okay, but this is the nanny state, though. This is the nanny state writ large, right? I mean, you know, with the government telling you what you can eat and what you can't eat.
Okay, but this, if it's my money and it's a legal product, I can buy it. But if it's your money and you're making the rules, then you have the right to keep it.
Michael Holt.
You're absolutely right. This is the nanny state. Who are, you know, we're gonna have some panel now that says you can eat a steak but not a hamburger because it's healthier, it has more fat. This sounds like the mayor, you know, of New York dictating, you know, no big sodas and all the rest of this stuff. You know, well, it sounds as if because of some people buy snack foods, that we're going to have this panel who's going to tell everybody what they have to eat.
But the WIC program, women, infant, and whatever, children, that has all kinds of restrictions about what you can use the money for. There's a precedent for it.
You mentioned how many people on food stamps.
You can't use food stamps for tobacco. You can't use food stamps for
That's not a food product.
alcohol. Yeah.
Those are not food products.
Okay, Michelle Litchens.
If food stamps is a nutrition program, I think we actually have to follow through on that. So, and I think that the government has every right to say that you cannot buy soda and candy with our money. But I do have to do a shout out.
But you can't say our money. Whose money?
It's the taxpayers' money.
And the people on food stamps pay taxes too, so it's still their money. It's not like there's some secret pool somewhere.
No, but we also pay, to add on to that, we not only are paying for their food, but we're also paying for their health care at the same time.
Okay, Alex Runner.
I agree with the Republicans.
Yeah.
I think that,
Whoa.
I think that this was actually started, if I'm not mistaken, this year in Texas. Some Democratic legislators passed the same thing. I think the Republican legislator in Wisconsin is copying that. And, traditionally, people on the left have been very in favor of healthy food, healthy neighborhoods. We've got Walnut Way, Growing Power, getting healthy food into the inner city. I think it makes a lot of sense.
See, this is what makes this so interesting, because it does cut across the normal ideological lines. And when I asked the question about the nanny state, of course it is the nanny state. But you know what? When you go to the government to be your mama and your daddy,
let's take it a step further.
And the government pays
let's take
for
it a step further.
Yeah.
Now, you agree with school choice. You just touted school choice. Now, you're saying that because these schools get some state money, tax money, that the state should come in there and dictate what the curriculum is? I mean, you can't do that. So it's my child's birthday and I buy some ice cream. I can't buy them ice cream because it's not on the list.
Here's the thing, though. You can buy your child ice cream with your own money. If you are using the taxpayer money, you probably should use it for something that is nutritious. If there's a difference between dependency and independence.
I think there's nutritious ice cream. There's organic ice cream. You can get some healthy ice cream.
There might be. He doesn't know about it. You may not want to hear it, but we're going to tell you anyway. Let's dish out some unsolicited advice. We'll start with you, Michelle Litchens.
All right, advice, as I was talking earlier, we need more individuals to run for local office. So if you're frustrated with your local school board or city council, step up and consider running for office.
Okay, Michael Holt.
To the Joint Finance Committee, how about holding some hearings in Milwaukee, since this is a first-class city and we are affected more by these budgets than anybody else?
Okay. Mayor Joe Boss.
Hey, Obamacare fans, if you think junk food bans are an overreach of government power into personal lifestyle decisions, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Ooh, Alex Runner.
Well, at the Milwaukee Press Club luncheon, Robin Voss said that budget items should be in the budget. And he talked about how residency is probably not a budget item. So my advice is take residency out of the budget.
Okay, well, my unsolicited advice is if you were a judge in Ozaki, Washington, or Waukesha County and you signed a Walker recall petition, 2 words, early retirement. Coming up on Sunday Insight, is illegal immigrant an insensitive term? Coming up, efforts by the Associated Press to be politically correct. Well, we're back on Sunday Insight. Let's get to our next topic. Now, don't call them illegal immigrants anymore. The Associated Press announced last week it was removing the term from its style book. Instead, it tells users that illegal should describe only an action, such as living in or immigrating to a country illegally. And acceptable variations include living in or entering the country illegally or without legal permission. So the phrase illegal immigrant gone. Good decision or more political correctness, Michelle Litchens?
I think it's ridiculous political correctness, but I think what's going to be very interesting is that because the AP is using it, are we now going to see our government officials no longer using the word illegal immigrant? Because that's how everyone commonly refers to these individuals, because it's actually a law that they're breaking, right? So does this mean that the AP is directing the vocabulary that we're using in the public today?
Alex Runner.
Well, I happen to bring my style books here. I have a great style book, Words on Words by John Bremer, 2004, AP, 2011. And I looked through here, and if someone doesn't have a proper marriage license, they're not called an illegal couple. And if someone doesn't have a proper birth certificate, they're not called an illegal person. It's the action that's illegal. So I think it's great. I think there's a broad spectrum of situations. People are brought here as children, people who are here as a student, overstayed their visa. And I think focusing on the action, the illegal action, is by and large, it's consistent with not defining a person as being illegal.
Well, now, is that a political statement or is that a journalistic statement?
I think it's journalistic, and I think reporters have been lazy. I think reporters haven't really gotten into the nuts and bolts of why does this person not have their paperwork? And it's not criminal. This is not criminal. This is not burglary, theft. This is not assault. These are only paperwork issues.
Okay.
The whole purpose of a style book is to make everything accurate, clear, and readable. That term does none of these things. Okay, you talk about a blind man. It's a man who happens to be blind. But for for clarity, you say a blind man. This term, an illegal alien, everyone knows exactly what it is. It's clear, it's short, it's concise. That's what it describes.
Okay, Michael Holt.
It's interesting. You know, I read a survey recently. You said that only 46% of Hispanics find that term to be offensive. But beyond that, what I'm really interested in is this happened like earlier in the week. Thursday, headline in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel editorial page, illegal immigration. So apparently they're not buying into the style book changes.
Well, they probably will. You know, I mean, here what you have is, again, the media choosing sides in a debate, because words matter. They matter a great deal. Each side of a debate wants to frame the issue in the way that makes them look the best. And of course, the pro illegal immigrant lobby has been pushing for that removal, because of course, when you call somebody an illegal immigrant, or you're talking about illegal immigration, the logical common sense response is, well, what part of illegal don't you understand? It is illegal. So undocumented, you know, is much more vanilla. It is much more neutral. But the problem is, where do you use undocumented in any other case? If you steal my car, are you an undocumented driver? If you shoplift, are you an undocumented shopper? Right. If you are, if I pretend that I am a doctor and I'm not really a doctor, am I an undocumented doctor?
I mean,
So-
by and large, these people, I mean, like I said, it goes across the spectrum, but they're people who think this is the greatest country on earth.
Yeah.
They want to be here. They're sacrificing. Some of them have PhDs in other countries, but they come here and they wash dishes or they do whatever to be here. And I think the term illegal immigrant, or even worse, just calling them an illegal, intrinsically illegal, I think it devalues the person. I think it makes them seem criminal.
Well, there is this debate in this country between right and left on this issue, and you obviously take one position. What I'm arguing is that the Associated Press has now taken sides, and on Friday we found out that they're also limiting the use of the word Islamist. This is again one of those moments where the mainstream media, instead of just reporting the debate, is framing the issue in a way that supports one side. Okay, is what they said this week the same thing as what you heard? So let's go around the table. Alex Runner.
Well, Mahlon Mitchell, former candidate for Democratic lieutenant governor, he said residency doesn't matter, and he sides with Scott Walker. That's what he said. What I heard was he's not from Milwaukee, and he doesn't understand the dynamics of Milwaukee.
Michelle Litchins.
There was a budget hearing this week, Thursday, in the Milwaukee area, where we had a number of city officials come in and say, give local control and don't talk about residency at the state level. But what I actually heard were a group of whiners saying that our city isn't good enough, no one's going to stay and live here if you don't require them to live here, so leave us alone.
Okay, Michael Holt.
Chris Abley, the county executive, was asked whether or not he wanted to go into mediation between him and the county board. He said probably not. What I heard was kiss. Well,
Okay.
Well, at that same Joint Finance Committee here in Milwaukee, the Kettle Moraine school superintendent said the budget feels like using a sledgehammer when a scalpel will do. What I heard was, while many households are having to take a meat axe to their budget, she wants to make tiny, delicate cuts to school spending.
Okay, now what they said last week was the unemployment rate dropped to 7.6%. What I heard, another 500,000 people dropped out of the labor participation numbers because there are just no jobs in this economy. Next on Sunday Insight, our panel picks the winners and losers of the week. But first, here's the morning news update. It's time for our panel to pick the winners and losers of the week. Mary Jo Boss, you're first.
My winner, Pat Roggensack, an outstanding justice who ran a classy campaign and won a new, well-deserved 10-year term. My loser, Rutgers basketball coach Mike Rice, who was fired this week for physically and verbally abusing his players. Good riddance.
Michael Holt.
Well, the winner of the city of Milwaukee, the murder rate dropped, homicide rate dropped by almost 20% in the first 3 months. My loser, well, it's not necessarily a loser, but I'm really confused by something the chief said as it related to that. He said something about we'll not be able to alter the mental calculation of our young criminals, because right now, for a young criminal in Milwaukee, it's more dangerous to be caught without a gun than it is with one. Figure that one out.
Michelle Litchens.
My winner is Representative Jim Steineke from the Valley. His budget suggestion to eliminate state funding of community-sensitive design spending on DOT projects. At a time when we are borrowing money to pay for roads, why should taxpayers in Green Bay pay for stamped concrete in Beloit? It's a great idea, Jim. My losers are the Racine Common Council members who voted to ban guns and other weapons in city-owned buildings, but they exempted city elected officials from the new rule. So only elected Racine officials deserve the right to protect themselves.
Alex Runner.
Well, my winner for the week is the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund, which overturned an earlier decision adding Tosa police officer Jennifer Sabena to its memorial wall. My loser for the week is Democracy in Wisconsin. Tuesday's voter turnout did not even reach 20%.
Well, my winner, judicial conservatives, Rogensack, Bradley, Boyland, on Tuesday, they ran the table. My losers, judicial liberals. Last Tuesday was their last chance to flip control of the Wisconsin State Supreme Court for at least 4 years. So their attempt to politicize that court and turn it into a super legislature turned out to be an epic fail. And that's good news for Wisconsin. Thanks for joining us. Join me for my radio show Monday morning on News Radio 620 WTMJ from 8:30 until noon. Have a great week.